Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. A new story for the love-torn Songbird? There are some comings and goings for the week of August 18th, 2025, according to spoilers for the Young and the Restless. Fans can anticipate another appearance from Tessa Porter. She could even be prepared to let go of Mariah Copeland. Let's begin discussing the upcoming events in the CBS soap drama. The comings and goings of Tessa Porter's Heartbreak indicate that we will see her again. Even though it means splitting TERIAH, it's been great to see her on screen for a story. Tessa has no idea what Mariah is concealing or why she won't discuss it. Tessa believes Mariah shouldn't be near her or their daughter, Mariah Porter Copeland, until she does. The secret of Mariah Copeland. The comings and goings for the week of August 18th do not include Mariah. We are aware, nevertheless, that Sharon Newman will still be concerned about her. Additionally, Tessa is beginning to question whether Mariah would be safer if she stayed away. The finding of Daniel Romalotti, Jr. Fans will also see more of Daniel, according to spoilers for The Young and the Restless. As Daniel confided in Danny Romalotti about his affections for Tessa, fans watched. Danny grinned as though he had always sensed the emotions. Daniel is aware, nevertheless, that Tessa should not enter into a new relationship at this time. She is still dealing with Mariah's breakup, after all. Arrivals and departures. Week of August 18th, 2025. The idea that Tessa will surprise Daniel by revealing a different side of herself is hinted at. I wonder if she will eventually grow tired of Mariah and choose to move on. That might entail acknowledging her affections for Daniel. Daniel understands how fleeting life can be, even though it may not be the ideal moment. The death of Heather Stevens taught him that there is no guarantee for tomorrow. Therefore, sometimes individuals just want who they want, even if it's not the finest time. Additionally, there might be additional information regarding Billy Flynn's character Kane Ashby's plan. Kane said he was going to be targeted for murder in Nice. Kane is doing really nicely. If that were the case, wouldn't someone still attempt to get rid of Kane? Is it possible that person will follow Kane to Genoa City? Holden's crush, Audra's confession, and Tessa's transformation. Spoilers for the week of August 18th, 2025, have been released for The Young and the Restless. Fans can anticipate seeing a different side of Tessa Porter from Daniel Romalotti, Jr. Nathan Owens' character Holden Novak makes an effort to resist his feelings for Haley Erin's character Claire Grace Newman. In addition, Audra Charles is pressured to confess by Nate Hastings. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Tessa Porter's transformation. More Tessa and Daniel scenes will be shown to fans. Daniel will actually see a different side of Tessa. Tessa lost her marriage in the short time they spent creating lovely music together. In the hopes that Mariah Copeland would at last just tell her the truth, Tessa tried to be patient for a while. Since that hasn't occurred, Tessa may decide it's time to move on. Audra Charles admits. He believes that Audra is concealing something from Nate. Nate eventually persuades the vixen to tell the truth. But in the end, the brunette will blame Michael Meala's character, Kyle Abbott. Additionally, it is mentioned that Devon Winters receives an update from Nate. According to spoilers for the week of August 18th, Nikki Newman attempts to mend the divide between Claire and Victor Newman in her family. In the meantime, Kyle receives guidance from Jack Abbott. Victor ultimately comes to a startling conclusion. Additionally hinted at is the impasse that develops between Lily Winters and Kane Ashby. August 18th, 2025, week. The romantic retreat that Diane Jenkins Abbott takes Jack on will also be seen by fans. However, I'm curious about the timing. Isn't now the worst time to travel, with everything going on, including Kane? Additionally, it is mentioned that Holden makes an effort to resist his feelings for Claire. But I'm wondering if he'll become compulsive. Even though Audra and he had been apart for a number of years, he appeared obsessed with her when he initially appeared. We'll see, I guess. Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman are questioned by Billy Abbott. That hit piece seems to be published at last. But I'm concerned about Chelsea's constant attempts to save Billy. Michelle Stafford's character, Phyllis Summers, offers Kane some uninvited counsel. The week of August 18th, 2025, in Genoa City brings with it another wave of emotional turbulence and tangled secrets, And this time the spotlight shines brightest on Tessa Porter, the love-torn songbird who has always carried the weight of her music and her heart in equal measure, now standing at the brink of transformation as she contemplates a new beginning while her world unravels. Fans of The Young and the Restless will see her struggle more than ever before with the painful reality of drifting away from Mariah Copeland, the woman who once represented her home, her anchor, and her greatest love, yet now feels like a stranger withholding truths so heavy that even Sharon Newman worries about the consequences of silence. Tessa has no idea what Mariah is concealing, only that her wife refuses to discuss it, refuses to meet her gaze with honesty. And that secrecy has built a wall so high that Tessa begins to question whether their marriage is even real anymore, wondering if Mariah should be anywhere near her or their daughter Aria Porter Copeland until the truth finally surfaces. And though it devastates her to think such thoughts, Tessa cannot ignore the gnawing dread that her family might not survive this darkness. The comings and goings for this week confirm Tessa's return to the canvas, but in a heartbreaking shift, Mariah herself is absent, leaving Sharon to bear the burden of her daughter's shadowy choices, and leaving Tessa to stumble forward, isolated and uncertain, her music once again becoming both her escape and her confessional. And while Tessa wrestles with letting go of Mariah, another story thread begins to intertwine with her unraveling life, as Daniel Romalotti, Jr., carrying grief of his own after Heather Stevens' death, confides in his father Danny Romalotti about the affection he has quietly harbored for Tessa, the songbird who helped him rediscover parts of himself he thought he had lost, and Danny's smile reveals a paternal intuition that he has long sensed Daniel's heart shifting toward her, but Daniel himself resists, reminding himself that Tessa is still raw from her fractured marriage, still mourning the love she once fought so hard for, and that it would be unfair to push her into something new before she has healed. Still, soap opera life rarely respects timing, and the whispers of fate seem to draw Tessa and Daniel closer, with spoilers hinting that Tessa may reveal a side of herself to him that she has never dared to show, a vulnerability born from heartbreak, yes, but also a hunger to move forward rather than remain trapped in silence. As Tessa weighs her options, Daniel remembers that life offers no guarantees, and that love, however complicated, cannot always wait for the perfect moment, especially after seeing how fleeting tomorrow can be. Alongside this fragile emotional triangle, Genoa City continues to pulse with danger and manipulation, as Kane Ashby, still under the shadow of having once claimed he was targeted for murder in Nice, wonders if the threat to his life has truly passed or if the hunter is still watching from the shadows, waiting to strike again, perhaps even following him back to Genoa City, his paranoia seeping into every conversation and every cautious glance over his shoulder. And though Kane appears to be doing well on the surface, those close to him question whether danger is closing in, his storyline weaving tension into the week's romantic dramas. Holden Novak, meanwhile, struggles with his own emotional storm as he battles feelings for Claire Grace Newman, the complex daughter of Victoria and Cole who has already endured manipulations of her own, and Holden's resistance to his attraction may prove futile, for his history has shown how obsession can overtake him, as it once did with Audra Charles, the woman who is herself cornered by Nate Hastings this week, pressured to confess the secrets she has long concealed, with Nate sensing deception behind every coy smile and evasive remark. Eventually, Nate's persistence wins, Audra caves under pressure, but true to her manipulative core she redirects blame, casting suspicion on Kyle Abbott, who finds himself entangled in drama he neither initiated nor anticipated, though guidance from his father Jack Abbott helps him keep perspective, even as Victor Newman looms in the background with a startling conclusion of his own about family and loyalty, his decision threatening to reshape alliances in Genoa City once again. And in a quieter corner of the week, Nikki Newman attempts to mend the fractured bond between Victor and Claire, her compassion urging her to believe that healing is possible, that the Newman name can survive yet another generation's conflict if only pride and wounds can be set aside, though the soap world rarely grants easy resolutions. Back in Tessa's orbit, fans will witness her transformation play out as more scenes with Daniel reveal how music, grief, and shared vulnerability create intimacy between them. And while Tessa once held on to patience in the hope that Mariah would one day reveal her secret and save their marriage, the absence of answers now feels like betrayal, and Tessa, in her pain, begins to whisper to herself that perhaps it is time to move on, even if it means stepping into unknown territory with Daniel, a man who represents both comfort and complication. Yet Genoa City is never short on layers. And while romance blossoms or falters in one storyline, another sizzles with manipulation, as Phyllis Summers inserts herself once again, this time offering Kane unsolicited advice with that mischievous blend of concern and provocation that makes her both dangerous and oddly dependable. Her counsel perhaps steering Kane into choices that will echo far beyond his own personal safety. Across town, Chelsea, Lawson and Adam Newman face questioning from Billy Abbott about the looming hit piece, a dangerous article poised to expose truths that could shatter reputations. And while Billy insists on protecting Chelsea, her repeated efforts to shield him may backfire, leaving both vulnerable to consequences they cannot control. Yet through all of this, the true heartbeat of the week belongs to Tessa Porter, the love-torn songbird whose voice has always carried a mixture of sorrow and hope, and now, as she stands at a crossroads, between clinging to the silence of Mariah or daring to step into Daniel's light, fans will see her redefine herself, no longer merely the woman who waited for love to be honest, but a woman who demands honesty, who demands freedom, who chooses to sing her truth even if it means leaving behind the safety of a love she once thought unbreakable, her transformation promising not only heartbreak but the possibility of a new beginning, one that might finally let her soar. The story of Tessa Porter does not end with her simply questioning Mariah Copeland's silence, because silence in Genoa City is never empty. It is always filled with secrets, lies, and the weight of choices made behind closed doors. And as Tessa walks through crimson lights one late summer evening, holding Aria close to her chest while Sharon fusses over them, she cannot help but sense that her entire world is being rewritten without her consent. Sharon, though supportive, cannot disguise her worry for Mariah, who has disappeared further into secrecy, leaving Tessa to wonder whether her wife is hiding something about her health, her past, or even her loyalty, and each possibility cuts deeper, until patience no longer feels like love but like self-betrayal. The absence of Mariah from the week's canvas only heightens the suspense, creating an air of unease where Tessa is left to wrestle with loneliness while Daniel Romalotti, Jr. becomes an unexpected confidant, his quiet compassion, an artistic soul resonating with hers in ways she never anticipated. Their connection intensified as they sit at the piano together, weaving melodies that blur the line between friendship and something more, Daniel confessing that he understands loss more than most, having buried Heather and carried that grief like an open wound. And though he insists that Tessa needs time, his eyes betray him. His heart wants her now, not later, because he has learned too well that later may never come. Meanwhile, Kane Ashby lurks in a storyline that refuses to die, his paranoia about the attempted murder in Nice becoming sharper as he notices strange cars parked near Chancellor Winter's offices, shadows that vanish when he looks too closely. And though he insists he is fine, Phyllis Summers sees through him, cornering him in society with a glass of wine in her hand and that knowing smile, telling him bluntly that if he doesn't take control of his life, someone else will, advice that both irritates and intrigues him. Because Phyllis has always had a way of pulling men into dangerous choices that feel like destiny. Across town, Holden Novak stares too long at Claire Grace Newman during a meeting at Newman Media, his attraction undeniable despite his desperate attempt to stay professional. Yet Holden has never been good at resisting obsessions. Audra Charles knows this better than anyone, having endured his fixation years earlier. And as Holden fights the pull, Claire notices his lingering gaze and feels a mixture of curiosity and discomfort. Her instincts sharpened by a past filled with manipulations she barely survived. Holden's struggle mirrors Tessa's in a twisted way. Both are caught between desire and fear, longing and resistance, though Holden's is darker, bordering on compulsion, while Tessa's feels like a fragile chance at healing. Meanwhile, Nate Hastings pushes Audra Charles into a corner, his persistence leaving her no room to maneuver until she blurts out the truth, or at least part of it, revealing secrets she has concealed but cleverly deflecting responsibility onto Kyle Abbott, her words designed to twist perception and shift danger away from herself, leaving Kyle blindsided and defensive when Jack Abbott tries to guide him through yet another storm. Jack, always the patriarch, tries to keep perspective, but Kyle is shaken, especially when Victor Newman steps forward with his own startling conclusion about loyalty and family, a decision that could fracture alliances not only within the Newman empire but across Genoa City, as Victor's choices always ripple into others' lives. Nikki Newman, ever the peacemaker despite her own scars, works tirelessly to mend the rift between Victor and Claire, insisting that family is worth saving even when betrayal makes it seem impossible. her hope standing in stark contrast to Tessa's growing despair about her own family with Mariah. Back in the Abbott orbit, Diane Jenkins whisks Jack away. On a romantic retreat, the timing ill-advised given Kane's growing paranoia and the chaos surrounding Kyle. Yet Diane, ever self-serving, believes love deserves priority over crisis, even as Jack worries privately whether leaving Genoa City now could open the door for rivals to strike. Elsewhere, Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman brace for Billy Abbott's questions about the explosive article threatening to expose truths they've worked so hard to bury. Chelsea's endless attempts to protect Billy, becoming a double-edged sword that might destroy them both, as protecting someone often means controlling them, and Billy is no man's pawn, not even hers. But through all of this swirling intrigue, it is Tessa who holds the emotional heart of the week, her transformation visible as she shifts from patient, forgiving wife to a woman who dares to imagine a life without Mariah, daring to consider that Daniel could be part of her future, and as she stands in the dim glow of her apartment strumming her guitar while Aria sleeps, she realizes her music is no longer about holding on. It is about letting go, about finding freedom in honesty and courage in starting over, even if that means breaking what is left of her marriage. Still, soap operas never allow simple resolutions, and as Tessa contemplates her next step, danger lurks for Kane, obsession brews in Holden, manipulation spreads from Audra, and family wars erupt within the Newmans and Abbotts, all threads weaving together into a week where every choice feels like the first note of a new song, one that may be filled with heartbreak but also with the possibility of rebirth. And for Tessa Porter, the love-torn Songbird, the chance to finally sing her truth. Tessa Porter could not quiet the storm in her chest any longer, because every time she looked at Mariah Copeland's empty side of the bed, every time she reached for answers that never came, the silence screamed louder than words ever could. And though she tried to hold on to patience, tried to believe that her wife was simply protecting her from something temporary, the longer Mariah withheld the truth the more poisonous it became, forcing Tessa to admit to herself that her marriage had slipped into dangerous territory, where love is no longer nurtured but suffocated by lies. And in that fragile state Daniel Romalotti, Jr. seemed to become a lifeline, appearing at just the right moments with the right words, his presence a comfort that grew increasingly irresistible. The lines blurred further when Tessa joined him in the studio late one night, their voices blending together on a song that carried more intimacy than either dared acknowledge, Daniel's eyes lingering too long on hers. And though he reminded himself again and again that she was still grieving her marriage, his body betrayed him, leaning closer, his fingers brushing against hers on the piano keys, and Tessa, breath-catching, didn't pull away as quickly as she should have, leaving the air charged with possibility and guilt. Elsewhere, Kane Ashby's paranoia reached a fever pitch when he discovered a threatening note slipped under his door, the words chillingly simple, "You escaped once, you won't again." And though he tried to dismiss it as a prank, the handwriting gnawed at him, forcing him to question if the same shadow from Nice had followed him across the ocean, ready to strike at last. And in his desperation he considered Phyllis Summers's unsolicited advice, her promise that sometimes survival required being bold, even reckless, advice that could either save him or push him further into the crosshairs of danger. Meanwhile, Holden Novak found himself slipping deeper into his fixation with Claire. Grace Newman, his attempts to resist collapsing the more time he spent near her, the longing in his eyes becoming unmistakable, and though Claire tried to brush it off with polite distance, she could not shake the unease that Holden's interest carried a darker edge, memories of past manipulations leaving her instincts sharp and wary. And when she confided a sliver of her discomfort to Nikki Newman, Nikki immediately warned her to be careful, recognizing the signs of obsession when she saw them. Audra Charles, cornered by Nate Hastings, spun her lies with practiced ease, throwing Kyle Abbott under the bus without a flicker of remorse, her confession carefully crafted to protect herself while pushing Kyle into yet another mess. And though Kyle insisted to Jack that he was innocent, doubt crept into their family circle, leaving Jack torn between defending his son and preparing him for fallout, the kind that always comes when Audra is involved. Victor Newman, meanwhile, had reached a conclusion of his own, deciding that too many in his family had grown careless with loyalty, and his words carried the kind of finality that could fracture alliances and send ripples across the city, Nikki desperately trying to hold the pieces together by appealing to his heart, while Diane Jenkins, oblivious or indifferent, swept Jack away on a retreat that felt ill-timed, love colliding with business in the most Abbott way possible. Yet despite all the noise of Genoa City, the heartbeat of The week remained with Tessa, whose transformation grew sharper with every passing hour, as she realized she could no longer wait for Mariah to come clean, could no longer live in limbo where silence replaced trust, and so she whispered to herself that the time had come to demand answers, even if those answers shattered her, because the love-torn Songbird was no longer willing to be caged by lies, and somewhere deep down she knew that whether her future led her back to Mariah or forward into Daniel's arms, it would begin with the courage to finally face the truth.